So this is actually on the NBN link here at the Digital Hub.
Sure. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Fawcett. Don't forget to turn them. Oh, you're there.
How's it going?
It's going quietly, but I can make you louder.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Tim, we've just had a great chat, an overview of some of the challenges and opportunities from the department, the broadband communications, and some thoughts from Mick Chisnell about the change in work practices and the fact that we're moving down a spectrum of adoption. It's just a matter of time, and when teleworking and working remotely will start to take an impact. I was hoping you could perhaps talk to us a little bit about what your experiences are like at CISCO.
Yeah, sure, Peter. And so you've done well getting DBCDE and the ACT government. I've met Mick and Nina before, and I know they're leading the charge in this area. So, so that's definitely, they set a really good platform, and they're two, the ACT government and also the federal government have certainly been really proactive in embracing this new type of work. I guess maybe I'll throw some slides up, Peter, and you just confirm whether or not they get off the screen. We see this, Peter, they up there?
Of course, mate. Why are you doubting?
It's always nice to have confirmation, but you know, calling my presentation, flexible work practices as a competitive advantage at CISCO, and certainly the way we see that, this new type of work evolving, the really good employers, the employers that the best and brightest people want to work for, whether they be public sector or private sector, or not-for-profit or community-based organisations, the ones that are really good will be the ones that offer this flexible working environment, and whether that's the ability to work, certainly the ability to work outside of the office is going to be crucial, whether that's in a smart work centre, or that's in the home, or whether it's in a local cafe, or whether it's at a client's office. It doesn't really matter where it is to a certain extent. What we think at CISCO is that the evolution of that process will see people work in any 1 week or fortnight or month in a number of different locations. It could be a smart work centre for a few days, it could be working from home for a few days, it could be in a corporate environment, an office environment, it might be at a client or customer's site. It might be from the car, it might be from a cafe. So what we're going to see is this just rise of flexibility, and I'll take you through a little story on that in a minute. It's a case for change at CISCO, so a little bit about our business. We're a technology company. Some of you have probably got our technology in your businesses. It's at the core of what we do, and our sort of mantra, if you like, is changing the way we work, live, play, and learn so obviously changing the way we work is a key focus area for us. The sort of three areas around the technology are workforce changes, real estate, and environmental issues. If I bring up the environment, CISCO has 70,000 plus employees, about 75,000 now, around 150 countries, and we've got a very big global footprint in terms of our environmental impact. We've got a workforce where over half collaborate with colleagues in a different time zone, and 52% work in a different location from their manager. So a very mobile workforce and a very diverse workforce. And we've got a number of different technologies that we deploy to actually manage that situation and get the most from that situation, whether that's mobility, the use of video conferencing, to definitely the use of unified communications, which for those of you who at a very which is my not having a technology background, it actually means the ability essentially to have the same communications platform no matter which country or location, office location or outside of office location you are. And of course all overlaid with security, which is by and large the #1 issue that most of our customers raise when we talk to them about what their top 5 issues are. And it's the CISCO technology that's driving this. A little bit about the workforce changes. You only have to open a newspaper or listen to the radio or whatever other way you consume your news nowadays to see that mobility is the key driver for Australians. You know, Australia is basically leading the world in terms of the uptake of these new technologies. Tablet, smartphones, laptops are far outstripping sales of desktops now. The idea that you're sort of bound to a desk to receive, to do the things that you want to do through a digital economy environment is old news. Our estimates are, that's from an IDS estimate, that is that, you know, the number of mobile workers around the world will be 1.3 billion in about 2 years' time. That's a lot of mobile workers, that's a lot of people who are working outside the traditional bricks and mortar environment. And so what that means for us is we think there's an evolving model that's taking place around work, and sort of there's 3 key areas where you're getting this rise of virtual freelancers. These are people that maybe are independent contractors who essentially might work for one or more people or contracts, and essentially are bringing the work to them. And they're working fully wherever they want to, whatever suits their best, the way that they can be most productive, but more importantly, which best suits their client needs, because they're at that cutting edge. That's bleeding into virtual corporate environments. And that's the ability for corporates to adopt a similar approach with their staff, because there's an element of improvement of productivity, of work-life balance, environment, cost-saving benefits of the corporation, and just generally a better sense of employee well-being. And the third bit then is probably most relevant today, is this move to an urban or regional hub. And that's an extension of that environment where essentially people will begin to congregate in particular locations, whether those be in urban areas, outer urban areas, or in regional and rural areas, where the technology enables them to do that, but more importantly, they're able to come together and learn from each other. And I think we've all had an experience where you go to a conference with a few hundred people, or in this case, maybe less than 100 people, but you often walk away from a conference with not only a pocket full or a bag full of new contacts, of business cards, but more importantly, opportunities to do new business or learn about new ideas if that's the business that you're in, develop new policies, and those types of things. So we know that when we bring people together in those environments, they're actually really productive and drive a lot of innovation. And the type of, this is where the model of work is going to evolve to. I guess I'm probably preaching the converted if you're all in the room today to talk about sort of the changing nature of work, but one of the studies that we've done is really showing the shift in particularly younger people towards, you know, an ability to trade off pay for flexibility, or an ability to bring their iPad into their work environment. Bring your own device is one of the key things driving the IT sector at the moment. But also this willingness to engage on social media platforms. And what that's doing is challenging corporations to actually work out what their policies are around allowing people to access that in the workplace. But it's also giving them an opportunity to change the work paradigm, change the work model, as well as create business opportunities. And certainly if you've got a relatively conservative newspaper like the Financial Review that is editorialising on the use of social media, and also in a lot of its column writers are writing about the importance of social media for state CEOs and executives, you're actually starting to see the shift move away from young people that are voting with their feet in this regard, but actually move, if you like, up the management stack to people that are decision makers on businesses. And what that's doing is transforming the way business gets done. Transform the way business gets done, you often have to transform the way that the work gets done. So I think there's a sort of coming together of all these elements. Just a few numbers on the CISCO work culture, and you can all have my slides, a copy of my slides, so if you want to take notes, go ahead, but I'll give you the numbers. We're a US headquartered company, so a lot of our staff actually work outside of the US. The US actually worked out, there is a big wide world out there, and particularly in the Asian region, very strong focus from our company on that at the moment. A lot of people work in a different location to their manager, a lot of people in different time zones, as I mentioned. Around 9/10 of our staff telecommute at least one day a week. And you probably heard from Nina about the federal government's efforts in that regard. So CISCO is definitely at the forefront of that and has been the company essentially a general employment condition that if you're in a job that can be teleworked or work from home or outside the office, that you're offered that capability because the company actually expects you to want to work that way. We have 32% classified as what we call mobile workers, and I'll explain that a bit more in a minute. But a lot more work that way, even though they're not classified that way, which again for us shows that there's a cultural issue there that we need to catch up with, where we've got a lot more people that want to work that way but aren't necessarily classified that way. So there's a bit of a gap between the policy and the practice. And then only a small number of our workers work in a fully remote manner. So these are workers who would come into the office maybe once or twice a year at best. And that's a relatively small number. It's certainly not something, it's not a full-time remote worker is not something we promote, but it certainly suits particular types of people and particular types of, who have particular types of reason for why they work that way. Because oftentimes when you talk to people about the changing nature of work and telework or work from home, people tend to sometimes jump to the extreme example of, which is, oh my God, I'll never leave my home again, or I'll be stuck in my bedroom or my home office forever, I'll never have human contact. We're social beings, we need human contact. When in actual fact what we see at our company is that a very small number of people work that way, and certainly they actually get outside of their home as well. They're not stuck in their home 40 hours a week working. But most people actually end up with a mix. Some days at home, some days in the office, some days in a smart work centre. Very briefly, our flexible work vision at CISCO, it's really about driving a competitive advantage. So focusing on the way people do their work and not where they do it. That's the key difference. Flexibility, which enables workers to be more productive. It's really giving responsibility back to staff. We've got a multi-year strategy, which if you look at the arrow down below, it also involves a very big collaboration with our partners. CISCO, 80% of CISCO's global sales are made through partners, so they're a key component of any workforce strategy that we put in place. Starting with a common experience, which is about just building a platform consistent across 150 different countries. Bringing in flexibility for employee wellbeing, as I mentioned before, so really giving ways of working to our staff that enables them to best balance their own lives, work and private. And then finally, really using that as competitive advantage, both in terms of attracting and retaining talent, but also driving productivity and showcasing our technologies and us leading industry best practice. I'll just build this one out. So there's sort of 5 work styles that we identify at CISCO, from highly mobile on the left on yes, in the green, greeny bluey box there, through to the purple box, which is essentially most within the 3. What we're finding is there's a shift from the right to the left, so down towards the highly mobile, campus mobile, or remote distant collaborator, and that's what we're seeing across the business, and we're actually promoting that because it's advantageous to our company. There's 4 key components of flexible work practices at CISCO. Part-time work, of which we have not very many part-time workers actually, and something we can do better at. Working outside the office, telecommuting, working from home, or working from a smart work centre. On-ramp, off-ramp, so an ability for people to take a career pause. And then flexible work time, when people can do their work when it suits them, as long as it meets the company's goals. And the sort of 3 areas where all this comes together is the policies, the technology and the practices. I've spoken a little bit about some of those things already, so I won't talk too much about that. But it's fair to say, to some extent, being a technology company, that technology has driven a lot of this shift, because people have been able to adopt the new technology, they've actually been able to, we've actually evolved the policies and the practices to meet that. So there's a little bit of catch-up happening, but it's fair to say we feel like we're almost there. Probably the right-hand side, or the workforce impact box, is the one I wanted to draw you to here. I've spoken a little bit about the practices already. Essentially, there's very strong support and resourcing and training for this new type of work, particularly for managers and the challenges that they face. And that's something we really focus on. But we've got the, you know, really strong workforce impact over a small period of time, over about 2.5 years now. We've met quite large increases in our mobile workers, our remote workers. I mentioned part-time, a really big increase in our part-time, and I think that's going to actually take off. And then, you know, it's really the technology that's actually enabling this at CISCO. Talk a little bit about that. So the sort of 4 areas that we focus on for this new type of work are what we call mobile, social, visual and virtual. So mobile, I've spoken about. The social side of it, the ability to bring in social media, and we've got our own, if you want to call it that, called WebEx Social, which enables us to post ideas, and more importantly, it enables people to actually filter information in a really, in an increasing sort of digital overload environment. This is a tool that actually enables people to filter the information that's relevant for them in their business. The visual side of it, the rise of video, I guess today's call is actually a living proof of part of that. And then the virtual side, the fact that a lot of this technology actually exists in the cloud or is virtual technology. Go through that one. Just a little bit about the way we do it at CISCO, the tools that we provide to our employees, which enables them to work from home, work outside the office, work in a smart work centre, work inside the office. Everyone pretty much gets a laptop. If your job entitles you to, you get what we call the CISCO virtual office, which is essentially a home office in a box. It's delivered to your home. It's a router that you take out of the box and plug in. You connect it to your laptop. All of a sudden, you do a quick configuration on your laptop, which even a dummy like myself can do, and you have the corporate office in your home with all the security that you've got in the corporate environment and all of the access to the tools that you have in the corporate environment. So essentially, we're replicating the corporate environment in someone's home. And if you think about that, that's actually really quite cutting-edge technology, and it's part of the reason why our telework program and our work outside the office program has exploded so quickly in CISCO. We've gone from about 0 employees in 2008 to over 35,000 employees that deploy CISCO Virtual Office in the space of about 4 years. Really quite, and that's across 150 countries. You actually get an IP phone with the CISCO Virtual Office, and then depending on whether you're a highfalutin executive or just a worker bee like me, you might actually get a video endpoint similar to the one that you might be viewing me on today, a large screen television that sits in home, and you'll also get a USB camera. Employees bring their own device. Usually CISCO pays the bill for that, depending on what job you're in, but you can have any device you like. And the story I say about that that's interesting is right before Christmas, about a week before Christmas every year, the corporate IT send out an email saying, if you happen to get an iPhone or an Android phone or a tablet for Christmas, here's how to connect it to our network. And the reason why we do that is because we actually want visibility of the things that people are putting on our network, because that's the best way to increase your security capability, to keep your network secure. Actually having people connect their devices to the network without you knowing it is not a good thing, and it happens in all sorts of organisations, not just IT companies, banks, insurance companies, probably the public service, I dare say, also has devices on their network that they may not know are there. And that's why we're very open and transparent and create the opportunity for people to do that. You also pay for your own home internet connection, and you look after your own home office and utilities. Just a picture of one of my colleagues, Paul Cordwell's dog, and this is actually the Jabber client that I'm speaking to you on right now from the office at CISCO, but off Peter Alford's laptop, which also has the Jabber client loaded on it. And what this does is that box down the left-hand side there, next to Peter's beautiful boxer, next to Paul's beautiful boxer, I should say, is the Jabber client, and that enables me to do a number of things. It enables me to see my contacts, and you can see that some of those names have a yellow, coloured yellow next to them, yellow dots next to them, some of them are green. That's a presence capability. It shows whether that person is available. If they're yellow, it means they're in a meeting or they're away. If they're green, it means that they're available. If they're red, it means do not disturb. So automatically I'm getting instant feedback on whether or not I can connect to people immediately. This is doing by mobile from
Tim,
so
just bust in, mate.
load it up onto a tablet.
Tim?
Sorry?
Yep.
Yes?
2 minutes.
Thank you.
I'm in the wrong place to wave at you.
You can do it.
There's my hand, so. Yeah.
You can do it on an iPhone. You can do it for training. A lot of us do it for training internally. And this is another client which is about securing and always being connected in a secure environment. That's actually an app you can download onto your mobile devices. Very quickly, the benefits. Some of you have seen these slides before, and again, you can have these, but essentially we don't do this sort of stuff if we don't, one, make money that we can by selling it to our customers, and therefore we like to drink our own champagne, or some might say eat our own dog food, which is apt given we've just seen a picture of Paul's dog. So we like to show our customers that we're actually deploying this ourselves, and these are the benefits that we get. Recently we did a survey with our staff, over 2,000 teleworkers around the world, and essentially the thing is that they value the office to telework very, very highly, and recommend it to their peers, and also recommend CISCO as a place to work. And those are constantly the things that you want back, regardless of what organisation you work in, public or private sector or not-for-profit. Very quick engagement indicators. The bars on the right are fully remote workers, the bar on the left is a traditional worker, and the bar in the middle is a mobile worker. On all the engagement indicators, we see that people that have this flexible work environment actually value it very, very highly and are very, very engaged employees. And then finally, the one where we can actually put some real numbers around is attrition. And we all know, if you've run an organisation or if you're in HR, how much it costs to actually hire someone and then have them leave and have to replace them, versus the cost of doing something to retain them. And this is where we're seeing a great benefit for our staff. So Pete, I think I've fulfilled your 2-minute warning.
You did well, Tim. I don't know why your picture's frozen, and my PC's connected to you via a Wi-Fi network, and it's a good example why the NBN with a wired, directly connected connection is vital. Sometimes radios just get in the way. You appear to have muted your video.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, the audio's fine. Anyway, mate, that was brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I do miss that environment, but very excited about what I'm doing now. So I might come back to you a little bit later on, but I might, for the moment, hang you up, and I might call you back in for the Q&A.
Okay, no problems. Thanks, everyone.
All right.